Yeah. So all of you can see this notepad, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So today first, today's in two sessions. We'll be doing first part in the first session as predictive analysis. Predictive analysis. See, last time what we did, uh, we took the data set, right? Data set, and then we did everything which needed to pre-process the data. So actually, we pre-process the data, and then after that, once your data set is ready, right? Data set is now ready, and then after doing all those things which we did last time, once the data set is ready, let's go to this particular part. This is called as predictive analysis, where we will be making a model. Okay? Making a model. It is also called as a machine learning model, right? Machine learning. So here we will be making one model which will going to predict. Okay, this particular model will going to predict. So what I have done to explain all of you in a proper way, I have made this concept in a very easy manner. What I have taken very simple thing like in the data set. If you observe in our data set, that is salary data, right? In that only two columns will be there. One is the experience of the employee, and second is salary. So it's normal convention that when the experience of the employee is like, let's say 1 year, let's say he is getting 3 lakh, right? 2 years, let's say 4 lakh, um, then let's say 3 years, maybe 5 lakh, right? So it's like depending on the experience of the employee, we are having the salary in that particular column. So now what will happen based on this particular data, we will going to train our model. So we'll be making one linear regression model. What is regression and all, I'll be explaining you, don't worry about that. So we'll be making a linear regression model, and based on our data set, we will going to train this particular model, right? So there will be two part. The first part will be training the model, and the second part will be testing the model. Okay, second part will be testing the model. So only training is not important. Training we do with the help of training data set, and testing we do with the help of testing data set. Now you will ask me, sir, in our data set, we don't have the training data set and the testing data set. See, when we have the data set, the entire data set, right? What we normally do, we divide that entire data set into two parts. So this entire data set is divided into two parts. So let's say the 80% of the data and the 20% of the data. So the 80% of the data is basically divided as a training data set, and 20% of the data is for kept for testing data set, as a testing data set, right? So in our from our the data set only, what we do normally, we divide into 80-20 percentage. 80% of the data you keep for training purpose, and 20% of the data you keep for testing purpose. You can also divide this as 75% versus 25%, right? But keep this proportion as high, like 80% or 75%, so that it is properly trained. And then the rest all data you can use for testing purpose. Now it's up to you how you're going to divide this entire data set, but it's the normal the suggestion is like this. You don't choose the data from the start to 80% in a sequence, and then the remaining 20% as for testing purpose. Though we will going to do the same thing, because we are having hardly 30 rows I have entered over there. So see, for the simplicity we'll be doing that way, but you can always use different random functions, and you can select randomly. Okay, randomly you can select any rows, and to which will amount to 80% of your data, right? You can select randomly any rows, and the rest 20% you can leave for testing purpose. Okay, so till here it's clear, all of you, that we are basically having the data set and we will going to prepare a model. The model job will be to predict certain thing, what it will going to predict. So depending on the experience of the employee, it will going to predict their salary. Let's say in our training data set, we total data set, we have 30 data entry. Now tomorrow, if somebody will give me, let's say for 15-year experience employee, 15 years experience employee, what will be the salary? Okay, what will be the salary? So our model will be able to predict for 15 years experience employee, the salary will be like this. So this is the job of our this particular model. So till here, whether all of you clear, then we can move ahead, right? Is
Yes,
there
sir.
any?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move to the regression, the linear regression. What do you mean by, first of all, linear? If we say linear, right, anything which is linear, that means let's say suppose A and B are having the linear relationship. That means suppose I'm having this particular curve A and B. So as B varies, A will also vary. Okay, as B vary, A will also vary. So they both will have the linear relationship. Okay, this is called as the linear relationship. So a linear regression, in regression, what happens? We normally have the independent data, and dependent data, and dependent data. Okay. For example, in our data set, we have experience of the employee, and we have salary of the employee. Now, from this particular data set, you can clearly see that salary of the employee is dependent on the experience of the employee. Salary of the employee is dependent on the experience of the employee. As the experience may increase, the salary may also increase, right? So salary of the employee is dependent on the experience of the employee. Hence, this particular data is called as dependent data, which is dependent on independent data. This is independent data. Now, there can be lots of independent data like experience of the employee, then let's say skills, right? The number of skills known by the employee, right? Then uh, different factors which are needed for that particular post of the job, right? You can consider number of parameters, and these are what? These are the independent variables or independent parameters on which, or independent data on which your dependent variable will be dependent, right? So depending on these number of parameters, the salary of the employee will be decided. And so just remember two things in the regression. What we do, we normally try to determine the relation between dependent and independent variable. Okay, dependent and independent variable. So what happens, let's say suppose I am having this x and this is y. Okay, I am having this particular line. Similarly, I have x, y. I am having this particular line. So this is also linearly dependent. This is also linearly dependent, but this is a positive. This is we call as the, for example, as the x will increase, y will also increase, right? So the slope is on the positive side. The slope is like on the positive side. Whereas the line, for this particular line, the slope is towards the negative side. As y will increase, as x will increase, y will decrease, right? So at this particular point value, if you see here, the x is what? X is more. And if you project over here, this is the y value where y is less. Whereas if you consider this particular point where x is less only this much, but the y value is more, right? This is no negatively correlated. This is positively correlated. Now what we have here, let's say suppose we have the data sets. We normally plot the scatter plot where your data set is scattered like this. Let's say all these are your data sets. x, y. Then what we do, we try to draw a fit line, a line like this, which will, this is called as the regression line. Regression line. Okay, the equation of the line is like this: y is equal to, so we normally represent in this way. Let's say b0 plus b1x, b0 plus b1x. So where here your x is this particular variable, y is your this particular variable, right? The same equation of the line, you can say this is y equal to mx plus c, where m is your slope of the line, and c is your y-intercept. C is your y-intercept. What do you mean by y-intercept? For example, if I write the equation of the line in this way, y is equal to 2 plus 3x. Okay, 2 plus 3x. So this will be, let's compare with y equal to mx plus c. Right? This is x, this is y. So c is what? C is y-intercept, where here c is what? 2, and m is what? As slope. This is what? 3. So it's like, see, for example, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So y-intercept means this particular point. Okay, and the slope, let's say 3. So this is the slope of this particular line. So this is my line. So if I have the y-intercept and the slope of the line, I can draw a line. Or you can also draw a line when you have 2 points. Like for example, if you have x1 comma y1 and h2 comma y2, then by using the 2 points form, also you can draw the line. The formula for this particular is what, you know, y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1 is equal to y minus y1 upon x minus x1. So this is to make the line from the 2-point form. But here we are talking about line of this particular form, y is equal to mx plus c, where m is the slope, and this is the y-intercept. Okay. Now, when your slope is negative, when your slope is positive, we will get the plus sign. Okay, like this slope is positive, so you'll get this kind of equation. When your slope is negative, you may get the equation like this: y is equal to c minus mx, where the slope is negative. Okay, now the important thing, when you know, if our equation is like this, y is equal to c plus mx, if we know this c value and we know this m value, okay, so c value is known and m value is known. Let's say I'll put over there, let's say I'm putting 2 plus 3x. So I know this c value, I am knowing this m value. So I have made one line like this, equation of the line like this. Now tomorrow, if let's say this is my x and this is my y, x is what? My experience of the employee, and y is salary of the employee. So tomorrow if somebody will give me x, they will say that for x is equal to 15 years, determine the y value. So it's possible, right? With this particular equation, if I'll put over there 15, right? So I'll get the salary of the employee. So this is what happens in this particular regression example, where we try to draw a line and we know the intercept and the slope value of that particular line. So the prediction is very easy. If for any unknown data which will come in the future, we can always determine the y value or the predicted y value. Okay, now the thing is, so till here all of you got what actually in the regression will be doing. In the regression will be having 2 things. One is the dependent variable, second is the independent variable. right? Dependent variable, this is my dependent variable, will be dependent on the independent variables like this. So if there are lots of independent variable, we can say that y is equal to b0 or beta 0, beta 1x, beta 2, x2, beta 3, x3, right? So all these are what? Independent variables on which this my y dependent variable is dependent on. Clear? So till here, all of you clear what actually I'm trying to do? Is there any doubt till here? Any part which you have not understood, any mathematical part, you can ask me.
It's fine, sir. It's a linear regression.
I'm not able to get your clear voice. Okay, people are asking for permission. Just 1 minute.
Basically, you have to get the regression on it. You have to find out what.
Yeah, we are doing the regression right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any doubt in this?
No. Yeah,
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Okay. So now the thing is, so we have the data sets. Okay. They are scattered like this, let's say. And then we will draw a line. We will draw a line which will be the regression line. This is my regression line. So in a regression line, this should be a best fit line. This should be a best fit line. Best fit line. So what do you mean by a best fit line? Okay. So best fit line means, see what happens. We can draw a line in multiple ways. Let's say I'm drawing one line over here. If you see once I'll draw this particular line. This is one line. This is second line, right? Then one more line over here, third line. So out of these three lines, which lines do you think is fitting most of the data? Okay, or we can say that from the this visual appearance, which line is more fitting to the data set. So obviously the
First one.
first, if we will
No,
consider
that
the
middle one.
yeah, middle one, right? If we will consider the first line, then you will see that it's fit 2-3 points and rest all points are below one, right? So this is not going to fit in a proper way. If you consider the third line, most of the data points are the above, and no, the line is drawn over here, so it's also not fitting to most of the data. But if you see this one, the middle one, it seems from both these two lines, this is the best fit line. So in this way, we can draw n number of lines. N number of lines. And from that n number of lines, we need to select the best fit line. Best fit line. So how it is getting selected? Remember, you don't have to do anything, right? The software will do. We just have to write one line of code and everything will be done for you. But what will going to happen behind that? That's what I'm explaining. I'm explaining the maths behind that, how it will going to do. So just keep this thing in mind that whenever we'll fire that command, whenever it will draw the base fit line, that is the regression line, how will it will going to draw the base fit line. So suppose if we have the data, let's say the data are like this, and if one line is being selected, now from all the points like this here, we can draw a perpendicular on this particular line. We can determine the distances. So obviously the few data points will be below and few data points will be above this particular line. So so this is an error, right? This is an error. Similarly, this is also the difference between the expected value. This is the expected or the predicted. Let's say we call this as a predicted value, and the points which are over there, those are the actual points. Actual points. So there is difference, right? There is a difference between actual points, and the predicted values. So what we do, for example, we will calculate this difference and we will square it. So each differences will be calculated and it will be squared, right? So differences will be calculated and it will be squared. For example, this particular difference will be calculated, it will be square. Why we are taking the square? See, the normal fact is, if we'll pass one line and if we'll just submit the differences, all the above of that particular line and the below of that particular line, the summation of the errors will be 0. Okay, the summation of the errors will be 0. So it's like the below one will be having the negative value, the above one will be having the positive value, and hence the ultimately the summation will comes to 0. So what we will do, we will going to calculate the square of the sum of the each and every error, right? So like over here, whatever will the difference, entire difference, we will do what? The square of that particular difference. Let's say we will calculate E1, E2, okay, and we will square it. So it will not become 0, right? And we will get some value. Let's say for this particular line, this is L1, and we got, let's say, 4 value. Then we will going to draw the L2. And for L2 also, we will project all these points and we'll try to find out all the sum of the squared errors. And let's say we got the value as 5. Okay. Or let's say 3, right? It will not come 3. If this is 4, if it is a more fit to data, then this will be more than this one. So wherever we will get the sum of the squared error less, right, or the least of all the lines, that will be the best fit line. That will be the best fit line where we will get the sum of the squared error. This is called as the SSC, sum of the squared errors. So where this will be least, that will be the best fit line. So you can see that we can draw n number of lines and we can calculate the squared error and then we can see the value. So fortunately we don't have to do it, the software will do, right, and it will find out the best fit line, and whichever is the best fit line of that particular line, it will be called as the regression line, and it will represent the terms of slope and intercept form, right? And where we know that what is the m value and what is the intercept value. And once you know these both the things, obviously for any unknown data, your model can easily interpret what will be your predicted values. Now, one more important terms are there, like you may encounter across bias and variance. Bias and variance, which are very important terms, and these are more frequently used in any machine learning algorithms, or let's say whenever you will have this training and testing kind of data and you want to design a model, definitely these kind of terms may appear. So let me explain this thing. Let's say I'm having one figure and my data points are like this, okay, and this is my line. So this is my first scenario. The second one is, and then here also I'm having x, y. This is my third scenario. So in the second scenario, let's say I'm having my data points and I have drawn the line like this. So this is not a line, you can say this is a curve. Okay. So these regressions are many different types, right? This is a polynomial regression where we can draw a curve, and then we have the data points, and let's say I have drawn in this way. Okay. So let me rub this. let's say I have this X, Y, and I have the data. Okay, and I have drawn a line like this. So few are on the line and few are here and there, right? So I'm having the line like this, and here which will going to fit all the data, and this one where most of the data is on the above of that particular line. So this if you see over here, see we do this on the training data. Let's say suppose this is my training data and I'm drawing this particular line. So here if you see, the error is very high, right? On the training data here the error is very high. So because this line is not fitting to all the points properly, right? The most of the points are above the line and the line is passing from here, so the error is very high. So always remember this bias is related to error between training data, okay, error between your training data and the variance is related to error of your testing data. Okay? Testing data, error related to your testing data. So in the first case, during the training only, the huge amount of error is there, right? It's not properly trained. So if we will give any unknown values, definitely if it is not properly trained, definitely it will not going to give the proper output also. It will not going to predict the proper output also. So it will give high error in the testing data also, So this means in the first case the bias is very high, and even the variance is very high. Okay, the variance is very high. So in the first case bias is also very high because during the training it's not properly fit, and even if we'll give the testing data, right, it will not going to predict properly because the error was very high during the training data set. So bias means the error of the training data, and variance means what? The error of the testing data. So the bias and variance is very high in the first case. This model is called as underfit. Okay, it's underfit model. Underfit model. Let's take this particular scenario. Let's take the second one. This is here it has fit to all the training data sets. So this is overfit. Where it has fit to all the data set points. So in the second case, what will happen? Let's consider this particular case where it is overfit to all the data sets. Right? So the bias is low. Because training data set error is very, very low, right? But what will happen tomorrow if any new data comes over here, right? So this particular model will not be able to predict properly when the new data will come, because this is more bias is a very high. It is biased to your training data. This is called as your model is biased to training data. So the testing data, it won't be able to give proper output, right? So hence here the variance will be high. So in this case, bias is low, variance is high, right? In this particular case. Whereas if you see the last case, which is not underfit or overfit, right? It's properly fit, and where if you see it is having the low bias and low variance, So your model should be of low bias and low variance. Remember, your model should be in this particular category. It should not be in underfit category, or it should not be in overfit category. Okay, it should be in this particular category where you will be having the low bias as well as low variance. The error between the training data set and your this predicted one should be low. Even with the testing data set and your predicted value should be low. So the low bias, low variance model we should have. Whether these two things are clear to all of you? Bias and variance and the underfit and the overfit model, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the theory about the regression, right? Now again, to summarize this, what now we will be going to do practically, right? Practically, we'll be taking the two columns. We will try to make the model that is a linear regression model. Linear regression model. Now the regressions are multiple times. So in the simple linear regression, let's say in the simple linear regression, I'm dividing this one into, or let's say in the linear regression, I'm dividing this into simple and multivariable, simple and multivariable. So where here only one dependent and independent variable will be there. Dependent and one independent variable. Okay. Like in our case, we are having experience. Based on that experience, the salary will be calculated. In multivariable, you can have multiple independent variables, and based on that, the dependent variable will be calculated. So that is what multivariable. Now remember this linear regression, which model which we will going to implement. This linear regression works on the continuous data. Works on the continuous data. That means the numeric data, if you have numeric data, continuous data, it works on that one. But so like the example is salary calculation, or let's say in one particular area we want to predict what will be the flat price over there, right? So that also we can predict. So like this we can predict. Similarly, if you have the categorical data, for example, you want to predict based on the data available, on the independent variables available, whether the patient have cancer or not. Okay, cancer or not. So here two categories are there, whether the patient will have the cancer or not. So 1 or 0, right? So here we can use the logistic regression. So in the logistic regression, we can use for categorical data, where you need to predict the categorical output. Okay, whether the person will be having the cancer or not, whether the patient will have the diabetes or not, whether the customer will buy umbrella or not. Okay, so this kind of scenario where we have the categories of prediction, there we can use the logistic regression. Even in the logistic regression, we can have the simple logistic regression and the multivariable logistic regression, where the multiple independent variables can be there, and based on that you need to predict. So like this, there are lots of different regressions available. Of that, we will be doing the one that is the linear regression. In that also we'll be doing the simple linear regression, whereas you can just extend the code with the little modification to achieve the multivariable regression. So in this our example, I told you that we will be having the two column. One is the salary, so experience of the employee, and the second is the salary. So here we'll be having the 30 data, and we'll be having the salaries of those employees. So let me show you the data set directly. All of you uploaded to your working directory, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you see here, year of experience, and the years experience is there. Okay, remember this column name, years experience, and the salary is there. So we have 30 data. It's showing 31 because the first row is what? It's a heading, right? Years experience and the salary, and we have the 30 data. Okay, so we'll be using this particular data, and then we'll be doing the program. So let's go. Let's create a new file. all of you create a new file. Okay, so I'm just copying the path where my data set is there. So we need to read that particular data set first. So write along with me. Let's say I'm saying data one, and it's what? It's a CSV file, so we can say read.csv. I'll write the path, entire path, and then I'll say, so I'll have to change entire thing. I mean the slashes, salary underscore data dot csv. Okay, and just I'll change the direction. So let's run this, control enter. And then let's try to view this, whether we are able to read this. So if you see, I could read the data. So all of you just say whether you could read this data. So yeah, this one. I'll just give the name. I'll just save this particular file. So save as. Predictive analysis. Okay. So I've saved as predictive analysis. Now all of you could read this particular data set, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's see the dimension of this data. See, there are 30 rows and 2 columns. 30 rows and 2 columns of this particular data set. Okay. You can say names data one, and you will get. So now here we know that the data set is very small and only 2 columns are there. But if there are lots of number of columns available, then you can always fire these names, and you can easily see. You can easily check out what are different column names are available, right? Okay. Now the important thing, I told you that whatever data set we have, we should divide into training set and testing part. We should divide the entire data set into training set and testing part. So we can say here splitting data into training set and testing set. You will have to always do this thing, right? You will have to divide the data into training set and testing set. So let's say train data. So train data, I'll take, let's say I'm having the data one, right? I'm having the entire data in the data one. So I'm saying here 1 to 24 column I'll be using for train data. By 20 till 1 to 24 rows, sorry, 1 to 24 rows I'll be using. So I'm having total 30 rows. So 1 to 24 rows I'll be using for training data. That is the almost 80% of your data is what? Training data. And then for test data, can have, so 1 to 24 I am using for training data set. So remaining is what, 25 to 30. So I can write over here 25 to 30 I'll be using for test data. Okay, so let's run this train data and test data. Okay. So if you just try to see train data, let's see the test data. So here my test data is what, 25 to 30, right? This is my test data. So this data I'll keep for testing purpose. Okay, I'll not use during the training time. I'll use the training data and I'll try to train it. Remember I just explained about the bias and variances, right? So first we'll train the data based on the training data set, and then we'll go into test it on the testing data set. And once then after that we will find out like whether it's accurate or not, right? And then only we can accept that particular model. So here, since I have very less amount of rows and all, I have simply demonstrated how we can split into 80% and 20% of the data. Otherwise, you can later search about the split function, and you can use the split function, and you should always split into 80%, 20% of the training data set and testing data set with the random rows. Okay, it should not be in a sequence, right? Because if you choose in a sequence way, then the bias can be very high. It may give very high bias, right? We should have the low bias and the low variance. Otherwise, your model will be biased to your training data. So you can split by using the split function, and randomly you can divide the into 80% and 20% of the data, and then once your these two things are ready, training data and testing data, your half work is done, right? So we have the training data and we have the testing data, and what we can do, we can simply create a regression model based on these two data set. So first, a regression model we will create based on the training data set, and whatever is the model created, we will going to test it on the testing data set. So let's see
Sir,
how.
a quick question here. In the data, if you look at the Excel file, the first line is basically the headers, the years
Yeah,
experience and salary. So how does the
yeah.
program understand that it doesn't have to consider the first line and
So
start from the second line?
by default, the headers are false. Okay. So by default, when it will read the data from the CSV file, from this function read.csv, the headers are false. So we can make this as a headers true, then it will going to read the headers also. Clear? So
Oh, okay.
it understands that the data will start from over here. So there are lots of different parameters available. Even let's say in between in the data set, if there are question marks are there or the commas are there, so those data you can remove during the loading of the data set itself. So once we'll check the entire parameters of this read.csv function in the documentation, you can come to know that along with this just specifying the path of the file, there are lots of different parameters we can just mention with the separated comma. There are lots of different parameters we can mention during the loading of the file. So during the loading of the file, we can even ignore the garbage values which are present in the file, as well as whether we have to select the headers or not. That also we can do over there, right?
Okay. So that is done through the read function. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have the training data and I have the testing data. Now I want to make the regression model. So I'll just comment it. Train the model using linear regression model. Let's stretch it below. So I'll give the name as, let's say, LM model, linear regression model. And there is one function, inbuilt function, that is LM. So this is used for linear model, that is a linear regression model, and we can use this LM function for for training with the training data set. So this LM takes what? This LM takes, obviously it will going to take the dependent variable and the independent variable, right? So in our case, what is the dependent variable? So first write the dependent variable. In our case, the dependent variable is, just see the file, and here if you see, the salary is dependent on the years of experience of the employee. So what is the name? Salary. So I'll write salary over here, and then this tilde. If you see, this tilde is there on your keyboard, just you put over there the tilde sign, and this is a salary with respect to what? So salary with respect to the independent variable which is available, that is what? Years experience. So you can directly copy from here, or you can write there. So it's years experience. This is what? Salary with respect to years experience. If you have the multiple variables, you can simply concatenate with the plus sign more variables over there, and that will be what this linear model will be able to train with the multi variables also. So for example, if you are having multiple columns in your file, then that you can extend with the simply with the plus sign. So this is my salary, sorry, salary. Don't make mistake in writing the name of the column. Then after this, here we need to mention which data you want to use it. So which data you want to use it? I want to use my the training data for creating this particular linear model. So I'll copy this. Right? I can use over here. Right. So training data I am using for my for training this particular model. Let's run this. Only this much we have to write, and remember what things I have explained you. I explained regarding the drawing the best fit line, right? And then to represent in the form of y equal to mx plus c. That means after this particular model, we will come to know what will be my slope and what will be my intercept value of this particular line. So basically, it will going to draw the best fit line, and it will have that particular equation, so that in the future, if any time you will supply the x value, this particular model will be able to give you the predicted output. So let's run this. Okay. If we run this, we got our model, LM model. Now, if you fire the summary of this one, LM model, so if you see here a few parameters which we can see, that is let's say we get the R squared value. Okay, this is a 0.9179. We are getting adjusted R square value, that is 0.9142. We are getting P value and F statistics. So if we see the R square value, that is 0.91, that means this model is having very high accuracy. See, this R square value is between 0 to 1. Okay, between 0 to 1. So if it is 1, that means it's exactly no, the model is very highly accurate, right? And if it's towards 0, that means we cannot, I mean, even if the accuracy is not like 70%, 75%, I mean, this kind of then we can reject that particular model. We want the high accuracy, and depending on your application. For example, now this application is not most sensitive application, like let's say if we are having any application like the medical application, let's say whether we have to detect whether the operation needs to be done or not, or whether we have the cancerous tumor or not. So such kind of applications are very critical application, and there we cannot have no the prediction or the model which is not highly accurate. So there we should have the accuracy, it should be more than above 95%, 90%, right? There should not be any scope of in the mistake in the prediction. But if this application is there where it will not going to impact a lot on this one, a little bit here and there, the values will be there, because this is not more critical application. So in this, the accuracy of the 85-90% can be taken into account. But the application is a very critical application, like satellite launch or the medical kind of thing, where lots of, where the person life is in danger, or where the lots of investment is made, and the project is for 15-20 years, and that may get disturbed. So such kind of application, right, the accuracy should be very, very high. So here, if you see the R squared value is 91, that means 91% accurate this particular model, and this model we can accept it. Okay, so all of you got this one. There is also one term, that is R square, adjusted R square. So actually both are related, R square and adjusted R square. So there are lots of maths behind that. Let me explain so that you all will be able to understand that. Okay. So R square value or squared value is between 0 and 1. So more towards one side, highly accurate. Okay, highly accurate, and towards 0, not accurate. So R square value should be very high for the model to be accepted, because then in that case the accuracy of the model will be very high. So then why there is adjusted R square is there? Adjusted R square is there. So it has some significance, adjusted R square. Let me give you one example. Say, okay. So let's say we have one hotel, let's say, and their idli dosa is there, right? Okay, idli dosa we can buy from there. Now, so I am having two x's, let's say. So this is the batter of idli dosa, let's say dosa, right? And this is a we can say quantity sold. Okay, so for example, I'm considering that the quality of the, or let's say the quality of the dosa. So if the batter quality is good, it depends on, so the quality of the dosa depends on the batter quality, right? Batter of the dosa. The batter of the dosa is good, then this will also be good. Clear? So even the quantity sold may increase in that case. So we are having, let's say we have drawn one model, and this is like this, and we got R square value as, let's say, 0.9 as R squared value. Now let's add one more thing, one more dimension to this one. Let's add one more axis. So this is my x, this is my y, and let's add one more z axis. So this z axis is what? Let's say whether this batter is prepared by male or female, right? So one more axis, one more independent variable I am adding, whether this batter is prepared by male or female. So I don't think, I mean, if we'll consider this particular data, it will going to make any sense in this one. But you may observe that your R squared value, once we'll calculate after adding this male and female, one more extra variable, this R square value may increase. Let's say it may become 0.92, let's say. So your R square value has increased. But if you find, let's say in the previous case, when you had not considered the male or female, your adjusted R square value was, let's say, 0.89, adjusted R square value. Now in this case, when you added male and female also, one more dimension, one more parameter to this one, then once we determine the R square value, the R square value is increased from the previous value. But if we try to determine the adjusted R square value, adjusted R square value, it will give you, let's say, 0.87. 0.87. So by this, you can realize that the variable which you are adding one more variable, right, which you are considering, that is not going to add anything to your model. Okay, it's not going to add anything extra to your model. So the previous model was much more better than this particular model. Unnecessarily you are considering one more extra variable, so you can reject this particular model and you can consider that previous model, right, the previous model, because there your adjusted R square value was showing high value, right? And in this particular, after adding this particular variable, you got adjusted R square value even less than the previous model. So you can reject that particular model. So for determining whether after addition of some any extra variable, whether your model is even more accurate or not, so that you can decide based on the R square value. If it is reduced, that means it's not going to add anything extra to your model. So no need to add that particular variable in your model. I hope all of you got my point over here. Whether all of you
I just had
understood?
a question there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to look at the adjusted R squared value, whether it increases or decreases to determine whether the additional variable is used. Adding the additional variable was useful or not, or do you look at both the values?
Okay, so you need to look at the both the value. In fact, one more thing is there. Let me explain that one also. Since we are talking about the variable, that is R value. So the R square value is simply the its multiplication of R into R. Then only we will get what? R square value. And R value lies between -1 to +1. This is called as correlation coefficient or coefficient of correlation. Coefficient of correlation. So what happens normally, suppose you want to select first of all multiple variables, right? Let's say we are having 20 variables. So we also call this as what? 20 dimensions or 20 columns, right? So lots of 20 variables we have, and we have one dependent variable, right, which we want to predict it. Now we want to select which columns we should select. So from these 20 variables, we can always, among these 20 variables, we can always find out the correlation, that is R value. Okay, correlation. So if correlation value is very high, if it's very high, let's say towards 1, because it lies between what? -1 to 1, right? So if it is towards 1, that is positively correlated. What do you mean by positively correlated? For example, if these are my data sets, so I can draw a line like this. This is positively correlated. As X will increase, Y will increase. This is positively correlated. Negatively correlated means I'll be having the line like this. So my data sets are like this. As X will increase, Y will decrease. So this is my negatively correlated. And when I have a line like this is what? There is no correlation between X and Y. As X will increase, Y will not going to have any impact on that one. So there is no correlation. So when we have the 0 value, there is no correlation. When we have 1 value, it's very high positive correlation. When we have -1 value, it's very high negative correlation. So if between two variables, if we have very high correlation, okay, then we can reject that particular one of the variable from that one, because after adding both the variables, since both the variables are very highly correlated, so even if we're going to add only one particular variable, our model purpose will serve. So even if we're going to add the second variable, since both the variables are very highly correlated, it doesn't will going to make any sense, because even if we include this one or this one, the impact of this particular model will be same as after addition of both the variables over there, because they both are very highly correlated. So you can just drop one variable, you can select only one variable for your analysis purpose. So we have to if there are lots of variables are there are lots of different techniques are available to scan through all the columns, whether we have to select which particular column, which columns are very highly correlated, which columns we can drop it, right? So this is also called as uh, dimensionality reduction. You just later on search, because that thing, all these things I cannot cover. Dimensionality reduction. where you can reduce the dimensions based on certain techniques. Let's say there is one technique called a PCA, principal component analysis, or you can also do the coefficient of correlation. You can find out and you can determine whether which two columns are most highly correlated, so that you can draw one of the column from there. So let's say after dropping most of the columns, you got that the 10 columns are important, and you have made your model, okay, based on these 10 columns. Now tomorrow if any new variable you came to know, and then suddenly you want to use that particular variable also, you felt that this variable may be helpful in determining in a more accurate way for our model. So we're going to add that particular variable, and we're going to train your this thing model, right? But if at that time we will have to also observe, after addition of that particular model, what is your adjusted R square value. So if your adjusted R square value is coming less than the previous value, which you had the previous earlier model, in which case your adjusted R square value was something, right? And in this case, once you will add one more variable, your R square value may increase, but your adjusted R square value will decrease if that particular variable is not suitable, right? So it's up to you. After the model is prepared, and at that time you can add the adjusted R square value, or after every time you are adding a new variable, you can always check adjusted R square value. At that time also you can determine. So it's up to you. And along with that, you can also run multiple techniques like dimensionality reduction techniques, in which in the first stage only you can screen through the columns, and which columns are not important, you can always remove those particular columns. So whether you got you got the answer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
got
Still,
the
if
answer.
there is any confusion, please ask me. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is what about the R square and adjusted R square. So if you see over here, we got the value 91. That means this model is very highly accurate, and we can select this particular model. Now the thing is what, whether this particular model can predict for any unknown data, right? So if you see here, we have the years of experience like 1.1, 1.3 and all. So there is no 20 years, or let's say 15 years, and we can have any particular value, and we can try to get the output. So let's say if we simply try to print LM model, let's see what we will get. So if you see here, we are getting one intercept value. I told you, right? We will be having in the form of mx plus c. So we'll be having one slope variable, and second will be what, intercept variable. So that's what it's showing me, the coefficients. Coefficient means what, we'll be having the intercept, and we'll be having what, the one slope value, right? So based on that, it can complete the equation. Like, sorry, let me explain over here. So it's like our line equation form is what, y equal to mx plus c, right? Or you can write y equal to c plus mx. So this is my intercept. This is my intercept, which we are seeing over there, right? So intercept is this one, 23,660, and then your m slope is what, 10053, right? So that is your slope. So once we have both the values, then obviously if any unknown value x is entered, let's say 15 years, then it will be able to calculate the y value, right? It will be able to calculate the y value. So that's what we'll be doing now in this particular model. Let's check for any unknown value. So let's give that particular data, new data. So first of all, for this particular new data, I'm creating one data frame. I'm just making, so I'm saying data.frame, and which is this data? This is years experience, and I'm saying years experience is equal to 50. So I'm taking one unknown data, I'm making data frame of that one as new data. This new data I'm taking as what, for years of experience as 15. So let's run this. My new data is ready. Okay, my new data is ready. So now let's try to predict it for this particular new data. What I'll write over here, predict, let's say this will do what, predict the target variable for unknown data. So there we have the target. What is target variable? Target variable is our salary. So salary will be calculated based on this unknown data. So let's do the first one, Preds 1. Let's try to predict. There is one predict function, and this function requires your model, the linear regression model, which just now you made. So it requires that particular model. I'll pass that first parameter, LM model. LM model, and then for which particular value you want to predict. So there is one parameter that is called the new data, and okay, make this as new data 1. Please, all of you, make this as new data 1 and run it again, because otherwise it will I mean, here also we have the parameter as new data. So to this particular new data, you can supply our this new data, right? So you can write over here new data 1. Just do this one, all of you. Just make this variable as a new data 1 and run it. Okay, make this as new data 1 and run it, and then you can supply over here in the predict new data is equal to new data 1, right? And then run this. So remember, there is one parameter itself, that is what, new data. So where we have to specify the new data. Run this, control enter. If you want to check this, Preds 1. So for the 15-year experience, the salary should be predicted value is what? This one. The predicted value is what? This one. So we can make the data frame for this particular value, so that we can see simultaneously the experience and the salary of that one. So we can say like this. Let's say data frame 1 data dot frame. So first we can have the Preds value, and the second one is what? A new data. Our new data is one, new data $1 year of experience. So including this, we can make the data frame. I run this, and if I just want to print this df1, you can see the output in this particular fashion, where we have Preds 1 for 15 years. We are having what? This particular salary. Okay. Now the thing is, so all of you got till here? All of you got till here? Yes? I'm there, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we got this one for one value, but now you will tell that whether we should accept this model for 15 years it has predicted, but whether this is accurate or not. Okay, how we will come to know whether this is accurate or not, right? So for that purpose, what we will do, we will take the testing data set. See, remember, initially only we divided the data set into two parts, that is the testing data set and the training data set. Now what we will do, we will going to test our model based on the testing data set, right? So we will do that one, and we can clearly see there that what is the predicted value and what is the actual value, and then we can realize that, yeah, it's giving whether closer value to the actual value or not, and based on that we can understand that this model is giving proper values or not. So let's do on the testing data set. prediction using testing data. It's we are doing, okay, for checking the accuracy of the model using test data. Okay? Checking the accuracy of the model using the test data. Okay, so let me do the prediction 2, and here I will use again predict function. It will take first LM model, and the second one it will take the new data. So here the new data, now I'll give what? New data, I'll give my test data, right? Test data which initially we divided, right? So here I am giving that test data. I've run this, and then in the pairs it will be having, but it will be having only the salary value. So let me make in a proper format so that we can see. I'll make the data frame. So df2 data.frame, and for this one, what we will do, we will say first one the page 2, and then the next one as test data years. Let's run this one. So we have taken the years of experience from the test data, and this is our df2 is ready. Let's run this df2. If you see, here, for 8.7, for 9.0, let me open this one also. From this one, okay, we have from this one. So from 8.7, our predicted value is what? 111. Okay, so 5, 1 and 9 is there. If you see here, so approximately it's same, right? Approximately it's same. Actual value is what? 109,431, and for 9 years, so 114. And for 9 years over here we are having 105. This is less little bit. For 9.5, 119, and here we are having 116. For 9.6, 120, and here we are having 112. Okay, for 10.0, 10.3, 122, and here we are having 127. 10.5, 129. So approximately it's giving somewhat near value to that one. Now remember, our data set is very, very small, right? And we have run on that one. This much data set should not be considered for training a model at all, right? We should have the large amount of data first of all. So, but to give you the idea, this is what we have done, and we have taken the based on the test data, and we try to get the predicted values, and then we are matching with the what? We are matching with the actual values right now over here, and we are seeing that somewhere it's closer to those values. But if these data are very, very huge, then we cannot match one by one, right? So we can always find the correlation between the predicted data and the data which is available over there. So we can write like this. See whether it will run. The correlation between the page 2 and the test data, let's say salary. If you see here, if I am finding the correlation between page 2 and test data salary, it's giving me 0.9121729. So both are very highly correlated. That means our the predicted value and the test data salary value and the actual salary value, they are very highly correlated. So this model we can accept it, right? This model we can accept it. It's giving more closer values. So this is what you can do with this one. All of you got this?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, there is any issue, any doubt? Okay. So this we have completed the first session, like the predictive analysis, and in that what we have done, we have created one model, and we had the entire data set. We divided into two parts: training and testing data set, and the process will be exactly similar to the way I have done. Right, only thing, in the real life you will be having huge amount of data, and so your 80% of the time will go in the pre-processing only, right? The way I told you in the last time, most of the time we spend in the pre-processing part only, cleaning the data only, and handling the missing values and all. So once that is done, then after that, the rest of the task is very simple, right? Once your data set is ready, then you can see now in a very quick short span of time, what we have done, we have designed our model, right? So we have done everything, and we have run on the testing data, we have run on the training data also, and at the end we found that correlation between the our predicted value and the actual value is very, very high. That means somewhat near approximately same values we are getting, and then we can accept this particular model. So in this way, we can design any particular model, and we can forecast the future sales of your company, or you can forecast whether what will be the salary of the employee. A number of things you can do with such kind of model. Now, such kind of the algorithms are there in the machine learning and even the advanced part of the data science. So where it both the coincide with each other, right? If you want to do any such kind of prediction and all, we have to design over there the machine learning models, right? So there, data science and the machine learning both coincide, and whatever algorithms you'll be learning, the machine learning and the data science, the same will be there in both the things, right? Because we'll be doing such kind of we will be making such kind of models, and then based on those models only, we'll be going to do certain things on the new data or the unknown data. Okay, so this was about our first session, which we completed. You can go through all these things, and then we'll meet by 3:30, and we can go ahead with the visualization part. Okay, all of you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I'll just stop the recording.